So we're joined all the way from Carlsbad, California, by the co-owner of San Diego Premier Training, my girl, class of 2000, Madison Central High School, Emily Messer Diebler. We thank you so much for taking some time for us today. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools, Madison Central, Rosa Scott, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. We are in the education, training, career cluster for our college career readiness class. And we thank you so much for taking some time for us today.
Glad to be here.
All right. We want to talk about all the things you do as a fitness trainer. Hold on one second. Sorry, I got to interrupt you real quick. So obviously we want to talk about all the fitness training you do, the great business you guys run, but just give us a little background. Madison Central, class of 2000, the one of the many very talented people to come out of that class. You were involved in cheerleading, also a great student. And just talk about how that experience led to you going to be down at the University of Florida.
So yes, all grew up very active all my life. Started with gymnastics, fell into dance and cheer. Had a successful career throughout high school with high school cheerleading and then competitive cheerleading, and that led me to scholarship opportunities through community colleges in Mississippi. Kind of bounced around a little bit, still figuring out life because how can you commit to something when you're 18? It's difficult. So I took a lot of classes in a lot of different areas, but was always drawn back to fitness and exercise classes. Again, was taking exercise things all through life, all through growing up. I used to get up before going to Madison Central and work out at the fitness lady down the street before school and then go to school. Yeah, just was always a big part of my life. So meeting connections and friends along the way um, brought me to working for a cheer company that was based out of Gainesville, Florida. I was
Oh,
still
cool.
trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and always jumped on the opportunity to travel, meet more people, learn more, do more. So we were teaching camps at this, all across the country. And a friend was like, "Hey, I need a roommate. Do you want to move to Florida?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" I still don't really know what I want to do. So I ended up moving to Gainesville, establishing residency there and starting another community college there in Florida. Um, that I could, again, continued education, was taking all these fitness classes, and then was able to segue into University of Florida and found their exercise science department. And that was like my light bulb moment of, I've been working out forever. I didn't know this was something I could make a career out of. And then really fell into like the biomechanics classes and the physiology classes and all of these, exercise science programs. Um, and just kind of got into it that way. So it was a long path, but once I found it, it was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah, and the cool part of that is University of Florida, one of the top exercise science programs, not only in the country but in the world. Just really
Yeah.
cool. You got to be a part of that, and I know a couple of things you did at Florida, which I think some of our kids could are interested in. You worked in the in recreational sports there at the
Yep.
rec center in Florida. I worked in that field for a while. Even if you're not interested in that full time, that is a great place to work on campus. And most colleges, I think we're finding out, campus recreation, other than maybe residence life, is the largest student employer. So great way to not only stay active, to be involved, meet a lot of people and network. And then being a cheerleader at a college campus is a little bit different than being on a high school campus. Unbelievable commitment. I've got a cheerleader in here with me, and she's a great
Yeah,
cheerleader. But high school and college, a little bit different animals when it comes, especially on a Division I level, when it comes
for
to
sure.
cheering on that level.
For sure. I did. So I had started in at Florida, started my classes, really enjoyed the social life, had a great time, and I was working full time for this cheer company also. So come to right about before my senior year at Florida, I said, you know what, if I don't at least try to cheer here, at least go through the opportunity of it, I'm always going to regret it. So that was a big experience. Again, very different from, 'from high school cheerleading to be at such a different level. So with it's tough without getting too much for young adults. The appearance demands and just your physical appearance, but then how you have to show up to everything and be ready to present. And that's such an important piece of carrying on for the rest of your life, knowing the impression that you make right at the get-go with meeting people and how that can turn into long-term connections down the road. It was a
Big
great
time.
opportunity to meet so many people and be a part of the community. But you do have to remember and thank goodness because when you're young, you don't make the best decisions sometimes. We didn't have all the social media that we have now. So it's a great, it's a good thing. But it's just being mindful, with that of who are you presenting to the world and who do you want to be and who do you want to be remembered for?
Absolutely. Now, we've had a few of our classmates on this platform, and something that we all seem to agree on is these type of opportunities and the different paths were not presented to us in high school. Look, I think we're all grateful we got to be in Madison County schools to be around so many great teachers and other students, but this really wasn't a priority that we were being told about different opportunities because I think what the space you're in is a perfect example. If you want to do the exercise science degree, especially at a place like Florida. I know Mississippi State also has a great program as well as Southern Miss. Um, that's great because you're needed, but this is not really a space that you have to go to college for. There's all
No, you
types of
don't.
certification programs, and it's not just working in the gyms. It's not just working in the fitness centers. When I was in the hospital, I had a nutritionist come and talk to me about what I could and couldn't eat. There's a lot of people there that are, not necessarily the physical therapists, but people that work in the rehab centers helping people with exercises. So there's a lot of areas to get in here, and some of them have degrees, some of them don't.
Correct. We have, so the facility that we own, we've got probably 12 trainers. We have a physical therapy office that's always also within our facility. And we've got from everywhere where they've received their education. Obviously, the physical therapists have gone to school and have their doctorates and all that.
Yeah.
Um, Myself and Mike, we've got our degrees in exercise science. A couple of the other trainers do too. But yes, there is just certification processes that you can get to achieve the requirements because it's all different state to state. But to achieve the requirements that are required by the state to be able to get the insurance required to train. And some of the best trainers that we have and that we know did not go to school for personal training or exercise science. So as long as you're putting in the work and studying and doing the right things and continuing to learn because science evolves, you can be a great trainer. You don't have to have the degree in it for sure.
Big time, and a big part of it too is having the customer service skills.
Mhm.
People see the trainers, they're working with the professional athletes, and yeah, there's some of those, but working with the everyday people, working with people
Yep.
that have never exercised before, working with people that may be coming off a traumatic injury, maybe
Yep.
people that had a medical emergency and their mobility is limited. Knowing how to meet people where they are. And if I got a lot of athletes in here with me right now. This is a great field for athletes to stay active, to stay in shape and to really use your sports background to say, when I played this sport, here's an exercise that helped me, and maybe it can help you do this.
Correct. Meeting people where they are is a huge piece of it. And seeing the path of where they want to go. We definitely take the approach of I can't just give you a basic cookie cutter exercise or workout because I need
Yeah.
to see how you move, what you can do, what you can't do, and not even what you can't do, but what you shouldn't do to prevent injury because we just want you to be able to move as long as you can because the second you stop moving is when things start to fall apart. So we need to be able to assess where you are, what you can do, take that whole piece, put it together, and then we can wrap up and give you the workout that you need to do to move forward.
Yeah, and it really is. I know, and we'll talk about the entrepreneurship piece here in a second. But this doesn't necessarily have to be, working at your own private business. A lot of people are looking
Correct.
to hire trainers.
Yeah,
Now,
for sure.
you and
We've got
you
a
and
whole
your
setup in our garage. I'm sorry. We do with COVID, there was obviously that made everybody shift, but we have our whole physical building, 5,000 square feet of equipment and all of that. But we also were able to adjust and basically set up in our garage. And we have a whole setup here too that we've got obviously less weights and less space, but we can still I've got clients after when we get done today, so we meet both. People meet at the park. We can do, body weight workouts. You don't have to have stuff. You can pick up rocks. And we've done that with the kids out in the forest on hikes. Like, come on, let's get some, carries in. And, you just got to be creative with it.
Yeah, and then there's also, especially since COVID, a big growth in virtual training.
Mhm.
Our own art teacher here, a big shout out to our art teacher, Miss Davis, was teaching Zumba virtually all through
Yep.
COVID. It was
Yep.
just her and her cousin, and she would have hundreds of people watching her live doing the exercises. And there's a big
Yep.
opportunity for that. You don't have to be in the
100%.
big city. You don't have to
Correct.
be, and look at Peloton, a
Yeah,
multi-million dollar company. That's all virtual.
for sure. For sure.
Now, I think it's so cool, you and your husband Mike, and we'll tell everybody his YouTube channel, which is so cool. But you guys took this a step farther, and you are entrepreneurs. And we
Yeah.
have a lot of kids. I hear it every year. Tell me, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to work for myself. I want to make my own rules. I don't want to take orders from people. But what they fail to realize is one, you are working crazy hours, and you are taking orders. You're taking orders from the customers. So
Yeah.
talk about, you don't have to get into the entrepreneurship realm in this, but it is something you can do. And there's two different skills. There's being a great trainer and there's being a great business owner.
hmm We definitely balance each other in those things and take on the pieces that we enjoy a little bit more. Um, so to not go too far back, but when I graduated Florida and I moved out here and Mike was training also, we didn't obviously start just, oh, we want to create our own business and, just go because that's not most of the time the way that it happens. So he was working for a fitness company. I was working for a 24-hour fitness. No. He was at 24-hour fitness. I was at Frogs Fitness, which was another chain studio. His kind of side of things were growing. And when you grow up and you start to have responsibilities and you have to get insurance and all these things, you kind of have to look at where you can go. So I ended up taking a break from the training world and going to a super corporate business for 7, 8 years. He was growing in his side. He had the opportunity to come up where he could buy out a studio. Again, we were very lucky. And that's when he created San Diego Premier Training. It was still decided at the time for us as a couple, as a family, I was going to stay in the corporate job because we needed insurance. It's a
Yeah.
reality that you got to be able to take care of yourself. So sometimes you have to do the stuff you don't like. And that is true when it comes time to being the entrepreneur too. So I ended up staying super corporate for a while. And as the gym was growing, San Diego Premier Training was growing, I still kept my foot in the door, was still teaching a little bit, staying certified, staying knowledgeable in the area. And then once it got to the point where it could support both of us in the lifestyle that we had, I was able to step away from it because you can't just willy-nilly go and hope for
There
the
you
best
go.
because that's sure not going to work. You do have to get up. So it was a lot of starting the day at 4:30 in the morning for Mike. And then finishing at 10 o'clock at night. It was a lot of driving all over the place to different clients first to get them to then collectively trust us enough to come to our facility. There's a lot to go into it that people really don't realize. They just think, oh, I like working out and I'm pretty good at telling people what to do. It's not all that. There's a lot behind the scenes in regards to licensing and insurance and music rights. That's one that nobody knows. You have to pay to play the music at the gym. And if you don't, that's a hefty fine. So there's so many other things that we've kind of taken into account along the way and learned along the way to build the business to, again, we've got about 5,000 square feet now. It's
Wow.
going to be 18 years that we'll be in business
That's
in
incredible.
October, November.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Over 250 clients. So it's taken a long time to grow, but we're there and we love it.
Yeah. And it's, managing people. If somebody doesn't show up to work, you got to handle that. And,
Yeah.
you
Well,
have,
and in this industry, if you don't work, you don't get paid. We don't have paid time off because if you don't meet with the person, you don't get paid for the session. The facility doesn't receive the money for the session to some degree, but you got to show up and you got to work. Yeah, I can make my own schedule, but if I don't work for a week, I don't get paid for a week. So you've got to be able to figure that out and how to budget and all those things that again, we didn't learn the best way. we figured it out, and we're doing all right.
Awesome. Well, I do have some questions here from the
Yeah,
students, and like I said, everybody here plays a sport, so I got a lot of
yeah.
athletes in here. Um, and I like this first one. This is Javarius Morrison. He's in uh, Javaria. I always say his name wrong. Javarius Morrison. He's in ninth grade. Uh, plays. He's in the band. Plays football, baseball, and he asked, "What is the biggest problems you have faced when it comes to being a trainer?"
Ooh, um, the biggest problem. Oh, it depends. If you're talking physical problems like injuries, I don't necessarily consider it a problem. It's more of a puzzle. Everybody's different, and it goes back to touch on the meeting people where they are. You might go in thinking that here's the workouts that we're going to do for this person for an athlete. This is what they want to do. This is their goal. And we're working towards that goal. But they come in and they had a game last night and they're so tired that we can't get through what I originally had planned. So you have to kind of pivot on the spot and adjust. And that's true for anybody, whether it's an athlete or, my client that just had knee surgery, knee replacement, and they're just got cleared for exercise. I think we're going to do things to, work on the quad, but they just got out of PT yesterday and they're too sore. They can't handle it. So we have to pivot on the spot, but still work on things that move towards their goals. So it's just being prepared and being creative and being ready to adapt. And again, I don't consider it a problem. It just keeps it interesting, honestly.
Uh, yeah, and every person is different. So you have to go
100%.
into it, it goes back to the customer service. You have to listen and you have to see what their needs are and then what their capabilities are. And it's such a odd science that you guys do such a good job of. I like this one. This is Tanaya Willis. She's in ninth grade, one of a great dancer. So y'all definitely have that in common. And she'd say, this is a great question. She asked, what would you say is more important for someone to meet their fitness goal, intensity or consistency?
Consistency. Because you can have the most intense workout that breaks down the body in such a way that you can't move the next day or you can't move for 2 days. So if you're going too hard, too fast, and then you don't move for 2 days or 3 days or a week, what's the point? I don't say what's the point. You still did something, but I'd rather see you move a little bit every day than a lot one day.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is Caitlin Beal, one of our cheerleader here at Velma Jackson, also a member of our archery team. And she asked, "Would you guys have done things differently, or would you have changed your approach if you'd have had the technology today, or if you'd have had today's technology 18 years ago?"
Um, you don't know what you don't know. So I think you still put your head down and push forward, but in different ways. I think that technology today can be great, um, especially with getting the word out and with marketing. And I will say we are probably not the best at that piece of it, because we didn't have it to start. So we knew how to do marketing in different ways. So would we have done things differently? Probably because we would have been taught that way. At least I hope we would have. Um, but it still comes down to the tenacity and the drive to get it done. So I don't know. That's a hard question. It's a good
Yeah,
question.
yeah. I
Yeah.
like that they're thinking about this. I like this one. This is Avery Harris. She's in 10th grade, volleyball player, also one member of our archery team. And she asked, when you measure progress for a client, does the goal or are the goals always different?
Are the goals different for the progress? So I am a big believer that goals change. So we have clients that come in that, a lot of it initially starts out as I want to lose weight. That tends to be a very big goal for a lot of clients, especially kind of like the older adults or middle-aged adults. But once they get in there and they start to see other people, then it becomes not about the weight, but more about I want to be able to do a pull up. I want to be able to do 10 push ups. I want to be able to squat my body weight. I want to do that. So the goals evolve along the way. And the initial goal happens, and sometimes they don't even realize that it's happening because they've started to change for other things. So the progress happens along the way. And, I've got clients yesterday, I remember when we first started this and we weren't even stepping up on an 18-inch box and now we're jumping up to it. And I'm like, you're seeing it. You're seeing it. That's great. Because sometimes they don't see the progress along the way, and it's just reminding them of it and reminding them that this was where you started, and now look at where you are and how your goal has changed. So it's just being fluid with it.
And tangible results are always amazing.
Yeah.
I got time for two more. That's just Takala
Yeah.
Chambers. She's in 10th grade, one of our volleyball players. And she asked, as a business owner and as a trainer, what values do you think are most important to you?
Oh, honesty, um, being willing to step up and do what you said you're going to do when you're going to do it. Because again, it's going to have to be done. And not being scared to get dirty. Like we own the studio, but we still take out the trash and wipe up spilled water bottles. You got to do everything. So staying humble with it, you know, you're not better than anybody. And that's true in the world, but even in the business, there's a piece for you to help in every facet of the business.
Oh, yeah. And then I got one more. This is Josh Williamson. He's in ninth grade, one of our football and baseball players. And he asked, as a trainer, what is your philosophy?
Ugh. Move better, move often,
There you
stay
go.
active,
There
um,
you go.
have fun. Yeah. I tell my kids every day, and kind of live this way through with the studio with my clients. I always just say three things, and they know that's all I say is three things because I started with them when they were really little. Try your best, learn a lot, and have fun. If you're doing those things, you're going to keep going. So just try. Don't half do anything. I almost cursed a little bit, apologize. Don't halfway do anything. Push through all the way. Commit because if you don't commit, you're not going to have the full experience. Um, that's the biggest thing. Don't be scared to fail. Don't be scared to try. Um, always keep learning. I feel like we've done a really good job of surrounding ourselves with smarter people than we are because you can never stop learning. And I hope that I'm never the smartest person in the room. I strive for that to never be the place where I am because that's a terrible place to be. You should always be learning and then have fun. What's the point if you're not having fun?
Oh,
You
yeah.
know? Yeah.
Big time. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for joining us. But a couple things before we go. First of all, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention your husband's YouTube channel. It's so cool, and that's Mike Diebler,
I'll appreciate it.
Mikedeibler. He's got some workouts on there, great interviews about his philosophy and more about the business. And look, just finding some simple things because I tell kids all the time, and I know you'll agree with this. And I'm not even a fitness person, and I know this. You're not going to be young forever finding
Correct.
ways to little things. You don't have to have the like you guys getting ready for competitions. Little things can go such a long way. Something for me, and I haven't had a soda in almost 9 years now. I don't miss
Yeah.
it. Now, before then, I was like Forrest Gump with the Dr. Pepper. I loved it, but I've cut it out, and I've noticed a difference. Now, am I
Yeah.
in the shape you are? Not even close. But little things like that help me stay healthier. Walking a dog. Just walk around the
Yep.
corner, get your blood flowing, circulation
Yep.
issues. There is so much you can do and start learning now. You don't have to be a star athlete. You don't have to be,
Correct.
the be a cheerleader. You can do small things to help yourself be healthy, and it's so important. But what I want to end with is, it's so cool. I never imagined sitting next to you in middle school math that we'd be having this in eighth grade at Rosa Scott, that we'd be having this conversation now. But it really does go to show you, you were sitting in those same classrooms that me and you were both sitting in at Madison Central 20 something years ago. And it just goes to show you there's a big world out there,
Yeah.
and you don't have to go to California to see it, but there's opportunity for everybody. So just
For
because
sure.
you're from here, because I hear people say all the time, well, I'm from Mississippi, I'm not going to have opportunity. Yes, there is.
Yes, there
If you
is.
put
You
your
just have
mind
to
to it,
make it.
absolutely. So as these kids start going through high school, start making decisions on what they want to do, we've talked about multiple ways just to get into this field. So if they want to be that person that says, "Hey, I want to go live here and I want to build my life here," it can be done. How can it happen for them?
Put in the work. Don't be, again, try. There's no harm in trying. What's the worst that could happen? Somebody tells you no, but then you just go to the next person and ask. You start doing what you do. In regards to training, if you're active and you're working out, grab a friend, come and work out with me. Bring a friend with you, have them come and work out with me. Start, now today's world, you can use social media and technology to spread the word a little bit, but the best way is word of mouth. That's what works for us. We don't do a lot of the social media stuff and the online blasts out and stuff. We are word of mouth, and we've got wait lists to come in and see us strictly on word of mouth. If you are good at what you do and you stick with it and you stick with your principles, people are going to follow you and believe you and trust you. And if you can build the trust, you're going to have them forever.
That's awesome. Well, we thank you so much for getting up early out there on the West Coast. I'm just so proud to call you a classmate. And I know I speak for so many people. It's just amazing that our class from Madison Central has been able to do so many great things. And I just know this class at Velma Jackson and the classes that are seeing this at our other schools will be able to say the same. But it's so great to see you. It just seems like yesterday we were kids over at Rosa Scott.
I
But thank you
know.
so much for joining us, my friend Emily Messer Diebler, all the way from
For sure.
Carlsbad, California. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You bet.
I talk to you soon, my friend.
All right. Bye. See you. Have a great